how long have you been in Japan?
So total about 13 years.
13 years.
So I spent 8 years in Iwate and 7.5 years in Iwate, 5.5 years here. It's about 13 years. So I first came in 1996 as a student, and I came back in 1998 to work. I worked for 7 years, and then went back to America for 9.5 years. I did my PhD in America. I taught a little bit, researched a little bit, and then ended up with a job in Nagoya. So when I went back to America in 2005, I think, my wife and I talked about the future and decided that I would always apply for jobs in Japan and America, and we would take the best job because both locations were okay, and this was the best job. So I took it, and here I am.
いやーすごい話がちょっと飛びますけど What is your most favorite place in Japan or food in Japan?
Yeah, my favorite place. I guess I spent so much time in Iwate, and it's the first place that I lived in Japan that I have a lot of really good memories. So I think I'd really have to say that Iwate is my favorite place. It's not that it's the best place in Japan, but it means a lot to me, right? And particularly, it's where I spent the first years living on my own and working. It's where I met my wife, where we had our first child. You know, sort of a second home, right? No matter where I live, it will always be home, in a sense. For food, so we didn't talk about this, but I'm vegetarian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've been vegetarian for over 30 years. I eat fish now that I'm living in Japan, but before coming to Japan, I didn't eat fish. So my experience with Japanese food is a little bit limited because it's not tonkotsu ramen, right? Stop at tong. Maybe it's easier to say that there's few foods that I don't like. There's foods that I don't eat, but the ones that I do, I really like them. A lot of people are surprised when I say I really like natto. And I know that that's a question that people often ask, especially in Iwate. Iwate is natto country. And that may be why I like it, right? Because it was always available. And so it's also, I guess, part of that set of memories that I have, those good associations. Yeah. How about you? What's your favorite food?
Natto? It's just kidding. I eat natto every day.
What about when you were in Australia?
Australia?
Yeah.
Favorite food?
Or, I guess, was the food good? What did you think of the food?
There are many kinds of culture in Australia, like in America.
Right.
So, like Mexican food, Spanish food, Turkish food. So, when I was at a homestay house, they made not Australian food, fish and chips sometimes,
right.
hamburgers. I don't know about Australian traditional food, I think. Maybe kangaroo meat, crocodile meat.
As long as it's not koala meat, right?
Yeah.
So were you able to eat out at restaurants and enjoy some of that, the various different kinds of ethnic food available?
Sometimes. Yeah. With my friends, or with my teachers.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Actually, in Brisbane.
Right. How big is Brisbane? I can't remember.
Kind of middle size of the city.
Right.
Have you ever been to Australia?
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
I've been wanting to go, but that's another place I applied for a job. Eventually I will get there. Were you there for a full year?
Yeah,
okay. Did you get to travel in Australia?
Yeah, I went to Uluru, Ayers Rock.
Oh, right.
I couldn't climb up on the Ayers Rock. It was very hot and many flies.
Right, yeah. I've heard that.
But it was very good. Good trip.
I'm glad.
I have been to Australia twice.
Oh, yeah.
At first for studying abroad, then second time to participate at my friend's wedding.
Oh, that's nice.
1 week.
Excellent. Was it different than what you expected, or what was the wedding like?
It was very different from Japanese style. They danced together.
Yes.
And at first we went to church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
1 or 2 hours. Then late evening, maybe 5 or 6 o'clock p.m. we went to City Hall. Maybe same as America, right?
Yeah, in the US, you don't have to do both. Priest or rabbi or imam, if you're Muslim, they can do the legal part of the wedding. So not everybody goes to City Hall, but some people do.
All right.
Yeah. That may be different in different states. I don't know. That
yeah,
might be only
states.
Pennsylvania. I don't know, but
Yeah. How about
so
your wedding?
we had 2 weddings. One in Japan, one in America. So we did Japan first, and we did the paperwork here. We went to the City Hall here.
Was that tough for you?
Probably tough for my wife. I feel like I let her do the paperwork. And then we had the reception, the hiroe, in America at my family's house, at my mother's house. So in Japan, this was when we were living in Morioka, we had an unusual wedding. We rented rooms in an old restored Meiji house that was owned by a very rich guy who owned a copper mine, I think, in the Meiji period. And it had been restored. It has a beautiful garden, really nice, Japanese garden, and a really beautiful house. And it's this very interesting wayosetchu. So it's a really typical Japanese house, but it also has a big dance hall that's all flooring instead of tatami, right? This was a really interesting place, and we had visited there as tourists, just in the city. And we were looking for a place to have the wedding, and we saw that they were renting rooms. And so we got 3 rooms, removed the fusuma, and had our sort of wedding there. We had it catered, a restaurant that they brought in food, and there was no air conditioning, and it was August, but other than that, it was great. It was beautiful. Yeah, it was very nice.
Sounds good.
テレビの取材も来ちゃいましたよ。
どうして？
その施設が初めて結婚式に使われたから、施設側のその管理者の方がちょっと候補として使わせてもらっていいですかって、もちろんいいですよって言って、誰もまあ来ないだろうと思ってたら4社だったかな、4社来た気がする。
テープとかCD、DVD
どっかあるね。でもその後引っ越しばっかりしてるからね、あれひょっとしたらね、実家の地下室の箱に眠ってるかもしれないし、ひょっとしたらこの家のどっかにあるかもしれないけど、いつかはねデジタル化して保存したいなと思うんですけど、今どこに保管してるのかね。アルバムにマイクばっかりの前に立っている写真もあるんですよ。マイクばっかり。マイクがねから34社分がそうですね。取材何のセレブだっていう写真が載ったりとか、すごく不思議な体験はしたと思うんですけど、
貴重な体験
貴重でした。はい。
ね、もうこうして幸せそうでいいですね。
おかげさまで。
私も目指します。
頑張ります。応援してます。
私も家買います。また嫁さん募集です。これじゃtips to improve English skill.
So it's a difficult question because, of course, right now it's very hard to get together and talk. But one thing that you can do, and that I did when I was learning Japanese, is watch dramas or movies that you like that are in English. And the first time, watch them with Japanese subtitles. The second time, watch them with English subtitles. And the third time, watch them with no subtitles. So the first time you follow the story, you have no problem because it's Japanese. You can read it. The second time, you're training your ear and you're training your eye to be more familiar with the sounds of English, with reading faster, and with casual, everyday language. So I'm not a big fan of, I guess what you'd call, in Japanese, like a home drama, like a soap opera or something like that. But I watched a lot of them in Japanese because I wanted to watch everyday language. So for me, the problem was I needed to learn the kanji. So I learned a lot of kanji from subtitles because I could hear someone saying it and see it. Oh, that's how you pronounce that, right? Having different inputs at the same time is helpful, and also doing the same thing more than once, right? And slowly leveling yourself up, right? Not pushing too hard. Don't try and watch with no subtitles the first time. Don't even try to watch with English subtitles the first time unless you're really comfortable. And just take it slowly, and you will start to gain a sort of a repertoire of English vocabulary and English phrases, and you'll get used to different accents because English has so many different accents. And because I think one of the things that's very difficult for a lot of Japanese is the listening part, because Japanese has fewer sounds. A, I, U, E, O. English has a lot more. And so you have to learn new things with your ear, and so that ear training is really important. But you want to have fun, otherwise it's just so hard to stay with it, right? It's hard to stick with it, and it's hard to be engaged. We learn with our emotions, not just with our heads. If you're not engaged and you're not feeling positive, it's very hard to have, for things really to stick. And so the happier you are, and the more joy you're feeling while you're doing something, the more you're going to remember it. It's also true that the more scared or angry you're feeling, so horror movies are okay, that's fine, but when you feel those strong emotions, that's what really helps your brain to work at its best for this kind of learning. So that would be my advice. And of course, you want to study vocabulary lists, you want to read, that's fine, that's great. I said I don't like studying, but I did those things, and they're important. But it's also important to have fun, and it's also important to work out your emotions at the same time in order to really feel the English. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, we have to talk to native speakers.
Of course, ideally, yes. And hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll be able to do that more easily and more frequently again. But until then,
we are getting better. We can do it. こんな感じです。はい、ということで今日はどうもありがとうございましたね、ネイスンさん。こうやっていろんな話を学習者の皆さんとしたいです。
良い子のみんなは真似しないで。
ダメだよ。奥様が新しいチャンネルを作られるので、またその時はチャンネル登録の方よろしくお願いします。また作られたらね、概要欄の方に載せておきますので、私の方も今回の動画が良かったらいいねボタンお願いします。チャンネル登録もお願いします。はい、じゃあ今日はこんな感じです。ありがとうございました。皆さんさようなら。